Welcome to the next interview in our Spotlight On series, focusing on assessment. In this interview, Delivering Assessment Online, we discuss practical applications of online assessments and how assessment design should focus on students. ASQA's Courtney Smith chats with Serryn, the Executive Manager and General Counsel at Evolve College.
Thank you very much for joining us, Serryn.
That is my absolute pleasure, Courtney. Thank you.
I guess a good place for us to start would be talking about how you use online assessment tools in your capacity as a training organisation.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's very relevant to providers, especially at this time, because people have effectively had to move to an online environment. You can make it so enriching for the students, and you can make it in that way. What I mean is interactive, engaging, caring about the students. Like the whole way that it's rolled out is something that the students enjoy. So an online platform, when it's done really well, is actually a very significant part of the students' learning, and the feedback tells you that.
You deliver in a lot of practical assessment, but you're still able to conduct that through online.
Yes, exactly. So there are some assessments that are trickier than others. Obviously, you need to pay very close attention to what is actually being required, how the assessments are required to be carried out. And sometimes that can be very specific. And in some of the qualifications that we deliver, that is most definitely the case. But in the case of the qualifications that we deliver, there is also scope for the specific assessment types to be conducted online. So we have made full use of that because it's to the students' advantage, where they're learning a practical skill. If they can not only learn it in the classroom, but they can then go out into a workplace type place. Like it can be for the disciplines that we teach, it can actually be a clinic in their own home, where they're effectively practicing to be the clinician that they will be on graduation. So it takes it from the classroom into the practical environment. And we have a technology-based platform that allows us to actually be there with them in a virtual environment and assess them. And there's feedback to and from the assessor and the student, both written, and also there can be conversation if anything needs to be pulled up or corrected, or simply confirmed, hey, you're doing a great job. Like that, it's wonderful in bridging the student to be ready to graduate at the end, because obviously what we want at the end is a truly job-ready student. And part of that is preparing them so that they're not just used to working in a classroom environment, but they're actually ready to apply it in the context where they're going to be working when they finish. We want them to be job ready, which means confident and ready to go in the context in which they're going to be working when they graduate. So our preparation process and our learning and assessment process is all aimed at achieving that.
How do you deal with challenges?
I think one of the biggest challenges in online assessment is actually student progression. And then let's talk about validity, because that's very, very important as well. In fact, I put those two at the top of the list of what the challenges are. So it's really important that providers don't just go to online because they think it's going to be quick and easy, because students, when they're thrust into an online environment, unless the online environment is very much designed and prepared for them and for their learning and to help them to grow effectively, then it can be like it's a bit of a lonely place. Like they actually have to feel that they're supported, and they have to feel that, that there's a college or an RTO that's actually behind them in their learning journey. So that's where the design of the assessments is really important.
So why is engagement with students crucial?
The students' progression is very much going to depend on the level of support that they feel from the college or the RTO. So if they feel fully supported and they know that they can engage with the college and the college is engaging with them or the provider is engaging with them, then they're going to feel supported to be able to fulfill all of the requirements of the course.
So what have you found to be best practice when you are designing online courses?
One of the things that we found is that most online assessments are very simple to actually design and to implement, and there are some of them that are trickier. But with the ones that are trickier, the key is to not look for shortcuts, but to make the student the focus. So if the provider is designing and implementing assessments based on what is going to be the best approach for the student, then the student is going to feel supported. So the whole challenge of assessments goes away when you're actually working hand in hand, if you like, with your students and considering, well, how is this going to be received? And is it going to be simple and accessible and easy for them to use? Not giving them the answers, obviously, but actually supporting them and knowing how it's going to be received, so that assessment becomes a learning tool in itself. It's a confirmation tool, and it's a deepening of their knowing or a deepening of their skills so they can become more confident through the assessment process, simply because of the way that they've been prepared for that assessment, if that makes sense.
Such a great answer. Thank you. I guess just to finalise and continuing on the positive theme that we've got going here, what would you be sort of some best practice tips for providers who are also looking at delivering online assessment?
So the key is making the student the focus. So especially in the current environment where there are restrictions and where sometimes because of lockdowns, face-to-face can't occur. Mind you, I will add there that there is a shift in the definition of face-to-face that is being contemplated in the sector, and that is that face-to-face is not only in person, it's actually online as well, where proper controls are in place. So you know, for instance, that it's the person who is your student that's actually there and not someone else, and all of that sort of stuff. And we can talk a bit about that if you like. But having all of that in place, the online environment is absolutely critical. So the tips for doing it properly are to not use it as a quick fix to something like lockdowns, or a quick fix for wanting to, like, getting the sniff, if you like, of the fact that online could be a quick and easy way of just rolling out education. It's not, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work well like that. I've seen what some have done, and it's got to, in order to work, it's got to put the student first. So I'd say no quick fixes, no slapdash approach, and or equally not something that is going to be difficult for the student. That's equally part of this. You want the assessments to be simple to use so the student knows why they're doing something and what it's for, what they need in order to prepare, and what's being actually asked of them. And then they can use it as an opportunity to demonstrate the fact that they've worked hard, they've got the skills, they've got the knowledge, and then they can showcase that. And as I said before, they can use it as a confirming exercise, which is wonderful, because when a student comes to the end of the course and they feel very confirmed in what they've done, then they are actually ready to go. They're raring and ready to go into their chosen industry. So I'd say that is very, very important. And the other thing I would say is job ready, in the way that assessments are designed and also the way that they're rolled out, just bearing in mind that the goal or the aim is to produce a job ready graduate. So the goal is not to just tick a box. The competencies have their tick boxes that of course we have to satisfy, but that's not the way that we actually design and implement assessments. The goal or the focus is always on the student and preparing them to be job ready at the end, which means it's not looking at the words and then designing something that just meets them, but there has to be contextualisation. There has to be a holistic approach to a qualification so that someone doesn't just learn a skill that ticks the box of the competency in that unit, but actually can go out after they've learned all of the skills and studied all of the units and be ready to apply what they've learned on the job. So if the focus is on the student and on them being job ready, then contextualisation and more of a holistic approach becomes essential.
That's absolutely amazing. I think the focus on students is really so crucial, because it really does show how so much else flows well if you concentrate on the students. A lot of the other principles and the rules of it fall into place.
So that what you've said, Courtney, I feel is absolutely spot on, because so many people in this area, in this sector, get bogged down by compliance and think it's so difficult, there's so much to do, how am I going to keep up with it? It's like it's too hard. But what you find, or what we've found, and we're just like everyone else out there, we're just normal people, but we've just put the students first. And what we found is that exactly as you just said, Courtney, by putting the students first, everything else looks after itself, because we don't cut corners, we don't try and make it about, making it quick and easy for the college or making money for the college. All of that, the compliance and the success of the provider comes from putting the students first. It's just amazing. And I've watched that actually occur. And so I know that a lot of people in the vet sector are very passionate about what they do, and they're in there because of their passion about education, and they're passionate about skills education. So vocational education and training is critically important to Australia. But it's a wonderful, when I see people realise that they have the freedom, if you like, to educate for the student and not for any other reason, it's like they come alive and they realise, oh, that's how I always knew that it could be done and it should be done. And it's like they light up, and it's wonderful to see. So I'm only confirming what you said, because to us that's absolutely everything, and that's the way that we do everything and the reason behind our whole operation. So whether people are directly relating to students or not, whether they're designing the online platform or the assessments or involved in the marking of them or whatever they're doing, it's all the same, because everybody is one team there to support the students to grow and learn and to be truly job ready at the end.
That is so fantastic. Thank you, Serryn. This has been so insightful, and I think so very helpful to everyone who's watched. The perspective of putting the student at the centre just is so valuable. So thank you again for joining us. It was great.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Courtney, very much.
And thank you to everyone else who's been watching today's series. Have a great day.